So there's two other ways that we could control the context. Whereas we could end up binding a function, we might never end up calling that function. Right? We ended up calling it here. This is why we saw the results. But the other thing that we can do is that we could take a function. So let's take our foo.quug. Let's not bind it. And let's just call it. So if we call it, we'll see that we're back to the window object. But what we could end up doing is we could actually use something called apply. And we could say that we're going to apply it, and the first parameter in apply says, what's the context when you call this function? We'll say we want foo to be the context, in which case we'll be back to our foo object. We could also, instead of doing apply, we could do call. And if we do that, we have the same result. So you might ask, what's the difference between the two of them? Well, we really could see that if we end up having some parameters. So let's just say that when we call this function, we're going to have two values. And let's just console.log x plus y, and we'll also end up logging this. And what we'll do here is we'll end up doing call. And we'll call it with 1 and 2. And when we do this, we'll see that we get the value 3, and we have this context, because this is called with the values 1 and 2. So when we use call, first parameter is the context, second parameter, whatever arguments you want to pass to that function, because again, with call, you're calling the function immediately. So what's the difference between call and apply? Well, I always like to think about this, where apply, I think about the word a, takes as its parameters the values in an array. So now, when we call it, the values in this array will end up getting mapped to the x and y value. The first one's going to be 1, the second value is going to be 2, and we end up getting the same result. So we can end up using call and apply to control the context, but the difference between the two of them is how parameters would end up getting passed to the underlying functions.